another episode of today's GK. I am Pooja Divedi, and in this segment we bring to you objective questions on a daily basis to help you crack prelims. So let's begin with the practice question of last segment. With reference to One Nation, One Ration card scheme, consider the following statements. It was started as an interstate portability of ration cards in 2019, and it allows the Migratory National Food Security Act 2013 beneficiaries to lift their entitled quota of food grains from any fair price shop of their choice anywhere in the country. So, which of the statements given above is or are correct? One only, two only, both one and two, neither one nor two. The correct answer to this question is C. I hope you have answered it correctly. Both the statements are correct. Moving on to the explanation. The Secretary, Department of Food and Public Distribution that day convened a meeting with states and union territories through video conferencing and reviewed the progress of the scheme. And he asked the states to deepen the progress about installation of electronic point of sale devices. Now, what are electronic point of sale devices? The point of sale devices are those devices which help in digital transaction, and they are installed at the actual area or actual point where transaction is taking place. And he also said that Aadhaar seeding of all beneficiaries should be there, biometric authentication of PDS transaction should be there, and portability transaction, both interstate and intrastate, should also be there. Now, biometric authentication should be there so that it is known that the targeted benefits are reaching the actual beneficiaries and not the fake beneficiaries, right? Moving on, if we talk about the scheme, it was started as an interstate portability of ration cards in the year 2019. It allows the Migratory National Food Security Act beneficiaries to lift their entitled quota of food grains from any fair price shops of their choice anywhere in the country. So if we talk about National Food Security Act, it was notified on 10th of September 2013, and it strives to achieve food security and nutritional security, that every individual can have access to affordable food in order to live life with dignity. And that is why the government has initiated this scheme so that the migrant laborers and the unskilled laborers who move from one sector, one state to another state do not just lag behind when it comes to getting nutritional and food security. Alright, and this can be done by using their existing ration cards with Aadhaar based authentication, of course. Let's move on to the first question of today's GK. Sehtut Dam agreement, often seen in the news, is related to which of the following countries? India and Afghanistan, Iran and Iraq, India and Bhutan, Bangladesh and Myanmar. The correct answer to this question is A, that is India and Afghanistan. Recently, India and Afghanistan signed Sehtut Dam agreement amidst summit-level talks. The Sehtut Dam is to be constructed on the Kabul River Basin. Along with the Sehtut Dam, India has pledged to rebuild Afghanistan, committing to $80 million worth of projects. Now, India needs and India has maintained its presence in the country of Afghanistan since many decades. And why does it want to do so? Because it wants to decrease the influence of Pakistan. And moving on, let's look at the next question. Which of the following straits separates Ukraine from Russia? Bering Strait, Kerch Strait, Strait of Messina, Park Strait. The correct answer to this question is B, that is Kerch Strait. So recently, Ukraine has shown interest to procure some military hardware from India in addition to efforts to deepen its presence in the Indian defense market. And India and Ukraine have very warm and friendly ties since a long period of time. If we talk about 1991, after it broke away, after it was separated from USSR, the Soviet, India recognized it as a country, and it also established its embassy there in the year 1992. And in return, Ukraine also had its presence in New Delhi in the year 1993. And in the defense sector, these two countries have been collaborating a lot, especially when it comes to defense technology. Also, Ukraine is bordered by Belarus to the north, Russia to the east, the Sea of Azov and the Black Sea to the south, Moldova and Romania to the southwest, and Hungary, Slovakia and Poland to the west. In the far southeast, Ukraine is separated from Russia by the Kerch Strait, which connects the Sea of Azov to the Black Sea. Moving on to the next question. Bureau of Indian Standards is the official agency for publishing seismic hazard maps and codes. The Ring of Fire is located in Pacific Ocean. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. The correct answer to this question is C, that is both 1 and 2. Recently, scientists have found the first geological evidence of the earthquake on the border of Assam and Arunachal Pradesh, documented as the Sadia earthquake in history. The finding could contribute to a seismic hazard map of the eastern Himalayas, which can facilitate construction and planning in the region. So, if we do mapping for seismology, what will happen? The citizens as well as the government will come to know which regions could be protected from natural disasters such as earthquake, and how the planning should be there in order to make the entire construction or the entire infrastructure earthquake proof. And Bureau of Indian Standards is the official agency for publishing the seismic hazard maps and codes. The world's greatest earthquake belt, that is the Circum-Pacific Seismic Belt, is found along the rim of Pacific Ocean, where about 81% of our planet's largest earthquakes occur. Now, it has earned the nickname of Ring of Fire. Why is it known as a Ring of Fire? Because it is like this. And because of the oceanic plates subducting under the continental plates, the entire region becomes vulnerable to earthquakes, right? Because plates are moving, they are subducting. Moving on, the belt exists along the boundaries of tectonic plates. We have already discussed that. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following pairs. The Ganga Sanctuary in Maharashtra, Pong Dam Lake Wildlife Sanctuary in Himachal Pradesh, Shinar Wildlife Sanctuary in Karnataka. Which of the above pairs is or are correctly matched? 1 only, 2 only, 1 and 2 only, 1, 2 and 3. So, you have to see the correct answer here is C, that is 1 and 2 only. Only the first and the second pairs are correctly matched. So, Ganga Sanctuary belongs to Maharashtra, Pong Dam Lake Wildlife Sanctuary belongs to Himachal Pradesh, and Shinar Wildlife Sanctuary belongs to Kerala. Moving on to the next question. With reference to blockchain technology, consider the following statements. Blockchain is a database of information that appears on multiple computers at the same time. It provides tamper-evident record-keeping, real-time transaction transparency and auditability. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 or 2. The correct answer to this question is C, that is both 1 and 2, both the statements are correct. Blockchain is a system in which the database of recordings, which is a chain, appears on multiple computers at the same time, even as it is updated with any new digital information. That is a block. So, as the blocks get attached to each other, that information is transmitted to all the computers who have hold of stakes in that particular transaction. And because of the transmission of data, it becomes very hard to reverse it, make it irreversible, or even tamper with it. That is the reason. And it offers a singular combination of permanent and tamper-evident record keeping, real-time transaction transparency, and auditability. And because of this particular reason, because of the sole reason that it couldn't be tampered, the Election Commission was also thinking about using the voting system, having the voting system of the entire country through blockchain technology, but it had certain shortcomings as well. Moving on, let's look at the next question. Mission innovation often seen in the news is related to which of the following? Clean energy, Digital India program, Smart India hackathon, women empowerment. The correct answer to this question is A, that is clean energy. Mission innovation is an international initiative to accelerate public and private clean energy innovation to address the issues of climate change, make a clean energy economy to consumers, and generate green jobs and business opportunities. Now, there are 8 innovation challenges under the mission innovation. IC1, that is smart grids. IC2, off-grids access to electricity. IC3, that is carbon capture. IC4, sustainable biofuels. IC5, converting sunlight, IC6, clean energy materials, IC7, affordable cooling and heating of buildings, IC8, renewable and clean hydrogen. Moving on to the next question, consider the following statements with reference to HOPE mission. It is the first interplanetary mission for the Arab world. It will give planetary scientists their first global view of Martian weather at all times of day. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. The correct answer to this question is C, that is both 1 and 2. Both the statements are correct. The Arab world's first mission to Mars, which took off in July 2020, is about 7 hours away from the destination. HOPE mission is the first interplanetary mission for the Arab world. The HOPE orbiter will be lifted on an HIIA rocket from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, a machinery maker in Japan. It will be launched from Tanegashima Island in Japan. This could be asked in your prelims exam. It will give planetary scientists their first global view of Martian weather at all times, and over its 2-year mission, it will investigate how dust storms and other weather phenomena near the Martian surface speed or slow the loss of planet's atmosphere into space. Moving on to the next question, which of the following rivers are tributaries of river Alaknanda? Now we know why this question has been asked. Pindar, Dhauli Ganga, Kali Ganga, Kishan Ganga. Select the correct answer using the codes 1, 2 and 3, 2, 3 and 4, 2 and 3 only, 1, 3 and 4 only. So the correct answer to this question is A, that is Pindar, Dhauli Ganga and Kali Ganga. These 3 are the tributaries of river Alaknanda. Major tributaries: East Trishul, that joins Alaknanda at Karnaprayag. Pindar, it rises from Nanda Devi. Mandakini, which is also known as Kali Ganga, it joins Alaknanda at Rudraprayag. And Dhauli Ganga, also Bishan Ganga. Kishan Ganga is the tributary of Jhelum, right? Moving on. Consider the following statements with reference to eco-sensitive zones. These areas are notified around protected areas, national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. They act as a transition zone from areas of high protection to areas involving lesser protection. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 only, 2 only, both 1 and 2, neither 1 nor 2. The correct answer to this question is C, that is both 1 and 2. Eco-sensitive zones or ecologically fragile areas are areas notified by the MOEFCC around protected areas, national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. The purpose of declaring ESZs is to create some kind of shock absorbers to the protected area by regulating and managing the activities around such areas, and they also act as a transition zone from areas of high protection to areas involving lesser protection. Also, the Environment Protection Act of 1986 does not mention any sort of words such as eco-sensitive zones, and an ESZ could go up to 10 kilometers around a protected area as provided in the Wildlife Conservation Strategy of 2002. Moving on to the next question. Consider the following statements with reference to United Nations Human Rights Council. It investigates allegations of breaches of human rights in countries all over the world. It also addresses important thematic human rights issues such as freedom of expression, women's rights, LGBT rights, and the rights of racial and ethnic minorities. The UNHRC works closely with the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. Which of the statements given above is or are correct? 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, 1, 2 and 3. The correct answer to this question is B, that is 2 and 3 only, the second and the third statement. These 2 statements are correct. The Human Rights Council is an intergovernmental body within the United Nations system, and its location, it meets at the UN office at Geneva. Its establishment is that it was founded in the year 2006, and it replaced the former United Nations Commission on Human Rights that had been strongly criticized for allowing countries with poor human rights record to be its members. It investigates allegations of breaches of human rights in the UN member states. It also addresses important thematic human rights issues such as freedom of expression, women's rights, LGBT rights, and the rights of racial and ethnic minorities. The UNHRC works closely with the Office of High Commissioner for Human Rights. Moving on, let's look at the practice question for our next segment. National Landslide susceptibility mapping. A national program on landslide susceptibility mapping is undertaken by which of the following organizations or ministries? Ministry of Earth Sciences, Geological Survey of India, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, Wadia Institute of Himalayan Geology. So, I hope you'll be able to answer it correctly in the comment segment. That's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.